Hello, my name is Jim Armstrong, and it's my honor to welcome you to the Maria W. Faust Sonnet Contest closing event. This is our second Zoom event. This is our second year doing this on Zoom, and we have many readers from across the country, and we may have a few glitches here and there, so be patient with us. But I want to tell you a little bit about the Sonnet Contest. This was a joint project I started with the Great River Shakespeare Festival in 2008, which was my first year as poet laureate of Winona, Minnesota, where we're currently located here. The contest seemed like a fun way to get the community involved with poetry and to honor Shakespeare, who was, of course, an early master of the form. The contest proved to be popular as we discovered how many closet sonneteers there were in Winona. The contest outlived my tenure as poet laureate, thriving under my successors, Ken McCullough and Emilio DeGrazia. And in 2012, Ted Holland stepped in to fully fund the contest in the memory of his wife, Maria Faust, who was an avid supporter of the arts and a great lover of poetry. Since that time, the Maria W. Faust Sonnet Contest has grown to become an international event. In 2020, entries came from 13 countries and 39 of the 50 states. I want to point out a few unique features of this contest. First, we have 4 judges, you see here, and all 4 judges read every submitted poem. We do not use interns or assistants or winnow the pile. Second, we have an unusual number of prizes. Why this plethora of prizes? We judges recognize that any contest is likely to receive a number of excellent poems, and the nomination of a single winner can misrepresent that fact. Therefore, we decided that our mandate will be better served if we recognize the breadth of talent evident in the work we have received. Finally, our contest recognizes the power of the performed poem. All of the winning poems are read aloud, either by the poet or by another. In this, we are aided by our close association with the Great River Shakespeare Festival. It has been a tradition for actors from the troupe to help us perform the winning poems. We hope you will enjoy this ceremony. Thanks to the Great River Shakespeare Festival, and thanks especially to Aaron Young for being our host today. And thanks to Dan Munson for tech support. And special thanks to Heidi Bryant, who is the organizing force behind this event and the contest in general. And many of you may have had some interchange with Heidi. We also, of course, once again, want to thank Ted Holland for his very generous support of this contest. And now we're going to proceed with the event. We're going to have our poets either read their own poems or have them read. And we're going to start with Michael Harty from Prairie Village, Kansas.
Thank you. Prairie Village, Kansas, like every place else, was very much affected by the virus the last several years. So I suspect the theme of this poem is near universal for us. The poem is Night Shift COVID Ward. It's 7 once again, and once again she boards the Mercy ship, rejoins the crew who navigate this sea of sickness, pain, and loss, who struggle nightly to renew their courage. She's called back to this perdition where nothing ever ends, where even death has come to seem just one more repetition, a pausing of machine-assisted breath. She knows all that, and still she comes to work. In mask and gown, she glides from bed to comfort where she can, to light a spark of hope within the stifling cloud of dread. She searches for the words to cancel fear. Too often, she can only say, I'm here.
Thank you, Michael. The next poet is Mackenzie Olson, whose poem, and she's from Onalaska, and her poem will be read by Hannah Young.
When anger comes and covers up the light, it's a driving force you can't control. And like a thunderstorm during the night, you feel the thunders in your body roll. The lightning flashes in your irate eyes. Your cloudy brain cannot think straight at all. Your face is set. It can't cover the lies, the feelings that you are above them all. The rain that patters down under your strife, inside you know that you are crashing down, and clouds of gray are stabbing like a knife. The final boom of thunder falls face down, and then the morning dawns and blue skies rise. Your hope will come, and lightning anger dies.
Thank you, Hannah, and thank you, Mackenzie. Our next poet is Anna Evans from Hainesport, New Jersey.
Hello, I'm Anna Evans. This poem is called Her Shaggy Ally, Her Shaggy Ally, and it's explained by its epigraph. You ask of my companions, hills, sir, and the sundown, and a dog large as myself that my father bought me, Emily Dickinson to Thomas Wentworth Higginson. She said he was a dog as large as she, which was in point of fact not strictly true, because we know she stood at 5'3", and Newfoundlands are more like 3'2". One time she sent a friend a lock of hair, a tawny curl she passed off as her own when it was his. Carlo went everywhere with her. So, though we think of her alone, a recluse in an attic dressed in white, that's who she came to be once Carlo died. Before he passed, the pair were quite all right. She walked round Amherst, Carlo by her side, and in the dying light, their shadows blended. You couldn't tell where woman or dog ended. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Our next poet is Jeff Balch from Evanston, Illinois.
Thank you. This goes out to my astronomer brother, the Perseids. An August night, but cold as I recall, a field of stars, our sneakers damp with dew, penumbral venturing before the fall, away from house lights for the better view. Beside Andromeda, I scan the skies for fiery hairs of some forgotten beast. Brother astronomer, forever wise, says, watch, just watch and wait and face northeast. I dream now I can hear the secret noise a planet makes, rotating through the dust that brightens now that field, those boys, with sudden trail, hot yellow white or rust. Some nights I still flash to such thoughts as these on sighting Orion or the Pleiades.
Thank you, Jeff. And just a little south of Evanston in Chicago, we have Daniel Cleary.
Yes, good afternoon. My poem is In the Woods. My name is Daniel Cleary, and this is poetry with an Irish accent. Something like balm descends upon the soul within these subterranean green-lit ways and lifts it up among the leaves to carol melodious songs, anthems as if in praise. How well those ancient architects understood when they within their medieval spires contained sometimes the ambience of a wood to aid in prayer, inspire angelic choirs. Swimming like fish within the ocean depths, we view it all as through a bathysphere and make our way, taking such turns and shifts. It's hard to know if we are here or there. Yet lift our eyes above where waving fronds of massy leaves conjoined like praying hands.
Thank you, Daniel. And I'm told we may have a little surprise for Daniel.
Yes, so there is a watch party happening here. And Elizabeth, if you're able to turn your camera on, we'll be able to see you here. And here we go. And Elizabeth, your sound is on, but there's your camera. Welcome.
Okay. All right. All right. Everybody. Yay.
These are
Everyone. Music bar in Chicago, down the street, then.
Hip hip hooray!
Hooray! Hooray!
Well, thank you for joining us and rooting Daniel on. Enjoy the rest of the sonnets.
Okay, thank you.
They will be the stand-in for the applause that I'm sure is occurring around the world for all of you right now. And I will take this opportunity, since we had a little break there, to have the judges introduce themselves. I'm Jim Armstrong, obviously, but I'm going to have Ken McCullough say hello.
Hi, my name is Ken McCullough. I would like to say that, I'd like to thank Jim and Doug for the vision of coming up with this contest. Ted, of course, as our generous benefactor. Heidi for everything she does, which is quite an amazing amount. And all of the GRSF actors over the years who have participated, and all the poets who have participated. It's humbling to read this many good poems, and it's an honor to be a judge in this contest. So thank you.
And I would, my name is Emilio DeGrazia, and I apologize for not wearing a mask. People all tell me that I look so much better with a mask on, but I would second everything that Ken said about the many people who have made this contest work so well. And I also want to thank the writers, because I'm awed by the amount of care and craftsmanship that has gone into so many of the poems. I'm one of the 3 laureates, Winona Poet Laureates. I served 2 terms. I've had some smallish books published. The latest is one called What Trees Know by Noden Press of Minneapolis. And it's all about trees. And it's a collection of poems. But thank you so much for trusting us to be able to judge your poems.
And finally.
Hi, I'm Leslie Schultz. I'm the only out-of-towner here. I'm from Northfield, Minnesota, but I live on Winona Street there. But it was this contest that in 2013 encouraged me to travel to actual Winona. I have, in my own work as a poet, I work about equally in free verse and formal forms. This contest has helped me to really consider the sonnet form, and more than consider it, it's gotten under my skin. So it's my very first time on the other side of the desk. And I echo what everyone else has said. It's humbling and a great honor to be able to read so much fine work in this form that I love.
Thank you, Leslie. And it's we're really glad to have you on board this year. Our next poet is Vivian Collins. and her poem will be read by Hannah Young.
This poem's called Nature's Last Chance. The world as we know it has caught on fire. It's hard to say when it started to burn. The need for global change is truly dire before the waves of ash begin to churn. Soon enough, we will lose to the water. The stream of regret has started to flow, tides crashing in and getting stronger with the strange hope that a drought soon will show. For long enough, we've ravaged the earth, yearning for something beyond the ground. The soil has lost its chance for rebirth. But if we work as one, hope will be found. Together we can clear the forlorn air in a world where nature decrees what's fair.
Thank you, Hannah, and thank you, Vivian. And I should mention that was a youth sonnet, as was Mackenzie's, the other poem that Hannah read. So we do have a youth sonnet category, and we really want to encourage as many young people as possible to submit their poems to the contest. Next is Mimi Jennings of St. Paul, Minnesota.
Yes, smoky St. Paul today. I'm so happy to be able to be here. And there are so many thanks that I could echo. So I do. Dining room longing. Quiet post-holiday house. Laundry humming. Coffee. On the dining room table, pretend plenty. Platter of permanent pears, ruddy painted apples, plastic grape perfection. Newspaper scatter. In headlines, hunger. Farming stories in the business section. 2 young Minnesota women plot their organic orchard. In California, 2 old men will pick someone else's grapes. Through the window, parallel shadows slant, skis, poles abandoned in a snowbank. Standing alone, mug clasped, I look out, yearn for filled tables and fair harvest, for both my daughters and both their children, near.
Thank you so much for that poem. And now, Louise Fairley from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
Hello, and thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity and for all the work that's gone into this contest. My poem is called Wolf in the Vocative. The gray of crenellated rock and white of dazzling snow took form, strode regally into our path. The movement seized our eyes, our breath, our fear. Oh, wolf formidable, outlined with jigsawed halo in the light of headlamps, bristling fur, belligerency, a glacial yellow eye impales like ice your gaze, your feral mien inscrutable. O wolf, inveterate loner, vagabond of shrouded night, your claim upon this road immutable. The rarest saraband of pelt and sinew loping unsun owed. O wolf, imbued with great and terrible grace, your visitation hallowing this place.
Thank you. Beautifully read. I have to say, everyone is doing a great job today reading your poetry. Aaron Fisher from Fort Lee, New Jersey.
Yeah, I'm waiting, and well, I'm going to appear in a moment, I think. Can you all see me? I can't see you.
We can see you.
Oh, great. Well, that's great. I want to say it's a great pleasure to be here with so many other talented sonneteers. And this is Fats Waller, Living Large. You made it look supremely easy. Your signature derby rakishly set, playing for laughs, deft wisecracks, one-liners that were a kind of jazz themselves, offered ad-lib. One never knows, do one? And all the while, your tireless 7-league left hand improvised sly clusters of tenths and triads that wowed the swells at the Cotton Club and smalls. You lived large, bootleg by the gallon, veal and ribeye and parfait always. A 3-day binge with Al Capone, kidnapped to play his black tie bash. Your enlarged heart rebelled aboard the Super Chief, the Kansas City line. On your way home to Harlem, you were 39.
Thank you, Aaron. This next poem is by Janetta Miller from Inverness, California, and I'm going to read it.
Aaron?
The title is House Arrest. Contagious unease settles down in us, like getting used to an ankle bracelet. Sequestered from those we would never harm, our life contracts, pent energy unspent as time stops and one day becomes another. He does YouTube, I slow cook everything. He does guitar, I search virtual stores for sundries suddenly not in stock. As days mount into months, we learn to look for what is there instead of what there was. Lose the urge to chafe against confinement. Play by ear what used to be rehearsed. Consent to quarantine from those we love. Stay safe and well to save them from ourselves. And next we have Natanya James from Everett, Washington.
Hi, I just wanted to thank everyone for giving me the honor of sharing my sonnet in front of such esteemed judges and fellow writers, and thank my mom and my English teacher for being here in the audience to support me. Okay, my sonnet is titled The Green-Eyed Monster, inspired by Othello. There groans a green-eyed monster in my head. Put out the light, it murmurs in my ear. I hate to sell myself away to fear, and yet across the marble halls I tread. There, Desdemona lies asleep in bed. Put out the light, it murmurs in my ear. A slave, I watch the candles disappear. One more to go, it murmurs in my head. Entranced by the last light, the tears roll down. I reckon that her lips must taste so sweet. Okay, I'll kiss her once or maybe twice. Put out the light and go reclaim your crown. Yes, seize her neck, squeeze harder and repeat. The final light is out and gone her vice. Thank you.
Thank you, Natanya. Shakespeare would have loved it. And now Charles Halstead from Davis, California, read by Ken McCullough.
I'd like to say before I read the poem that it is a traditional Shakespearean sonnet. It's got 5 beats per line. It's got three quatrains, and it's got a heroic couplet at the end, but it's kind of disguised. It's set in the 50s, and it's got all that on the road energy. How to sip beer. Big brother and I, 16 and 53, with 2 other guys and a 36 Ford, just right, drove Boston to LA in 3 days. We stopped in DC, where I gazed up in awe at martyred Lincoln by moonlight. Then on through the night in the battle-scarred South, where our Union great-grandpa fought to free the slaves, arriving next day at the Mississippi's mouth. At evening, we strolled along Bourbon, the street paved with sin, and entered a strip joint where I was shown how to sip beer while staring at flesh never seen. We crossed the southwestern desert nonstop and windblown, the Mojave on razor-thin tires at 120 degrees. Big Brother kept me awake, my last turn as a pup. We'd reached California, where I was bound to grow up.
Thanks for reading that, Ken, and thanks for writing it, Charles. And now I think we have Doug Schultz Carlson. Is he here with us?
Doug is not yet here, so let's
All right, we will come back to Doug. And instead, we'll have Paul Freeman from Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates, read by Melissa Maxwell.
Schadenfreude. A penalty is missed, a game is lost. A downhill skier face plants in the snow. Because I'm unaffected by the cost, inside me there's a warm and gleeful glow. A bonus or promotion that's denied to colleagues feeds a darkness in my soul. My conscience disconnects, I cannot hide the smiling, spiteful nature of a troll. And when my neighbors holiday abroad while I'm at home immobilized by debt, I'm chuffed if by a stomach bug they're floored, or by relentless thunderstorms beset. O Schadenfreude, envy's lowest rung, you always taste like honey on my tongue.
Well read, Melissa. Good job, Paul. David Southward of Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Thank you. My sonnet is part of a sequence that I've been writing on childhood experiences of pop culture. 1978. All spring, I hear the Bee Gees' brotherly falsetto on Saturday Night Fever. Steady tectonic vibrations announce the soon-to-be iconic Travolta strutting from his Brooklyn ghetto onto a dance floor, cruel as a stiletto. His moves make Stayin' Alive sound demonic. Their peacock maleness, pompadoured and phonic, points to the end of childhood's libretto. But on track 5, when Yvonne Elliman wails, "If I can't have you, I don't want nobody, baby," my heart skips. I'm racked with adoration. Her sultry cry of longing never fails to fill me with the promise of what may be and what may not, in waves of pure elation.
Thanks, David. Our next poet is Scott Lowry of Rolling Stone, Minnesota.
Which is right outside Winona. My sonnet is based on a scene in historic downtown Winona, Minnesota, where a major building rehab project was on pause for months and months. You Winonans may remember that. It's called Shell. For months, these ornate walls of blackened brick have stood propped up, cordoned from hosts of passers-by, mostly absent, blurry ghosts. In the long exposure shot, I itch to click. This flank of steel hydraulics, painted yellow, outsized bug legs aligned in angular lift. Inside the shell, 3 floors of not much left. Scorched stumps of beams, a sooty sparrow or 2, some plaster scraps. Sunshine blesses, clear to the blasted basement. What's the sense of stopping here, craning for a quick glimpse? Just checking in on other emptinesses. Run finger on mortar, drop down on one knee. Where is the fire that burned like that in me? Thanks.
Thanks, Scott. Well read. And we do remember that, that endless project. Our next poet is Lee Nash from Barbezieux-Saint-Hilaire, France, read by Melissa Maxwell.
I'm sorry, I'm not able to get my video on. The host has stopped my video, so I can't turn it back on. Okay, here we go. Ave Maria. By the organ up on the mezzanine, we've fingered Clementi and Cavance and tripped over triplets against quavers. The priest, busy, forgot to greet us as he promised, or perhaps he fobbed us off. A trucker navigates the nave, burns a votive in the semi-darkness. He calls up a request for Ave Maria, and since we know the score, we play it. One flute carries the melody, the other a counterpoint in staggered arpeggios. An impromptu recital, music to ease not the minds of the gridlocked and well-heeled, but a long haul of the heart at the wheel.
Thank you. Well read, Melissa, and well written, Lee. I think I saw Doug Schultz Carlson pop in. Was I right about that?
Yes, I did. I am unable to start my video right now. I'm not quite sure why.
I
think you have to give permission for that.
Yeah, we
There
will
it is.
do that.
Got it.
Hi, Doug. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing so well. It's so good to be here with all of you. Thank you so much for adjusting the schedule to allow me to see our apprentice and intern company present their production of Romeo and Juliet, which was spectacular. They're such a gifted group of young people, and it was really great to see their Romeo and Juliet all the way through.
And I believe you were going to read a poem by Stephen Cawley from Altadena, California.
I am. I have a poem. This is called A Dog's Will. And this is, as Jim said, by Stephen Cawley of Altadena, California. And this is, I will say, in the voice of a dog. A dog's will. I cannot speak nor write my will, my friend, but you will understand. When all things end to sad-eyed strays, I give my happy home, my bed and bowl, my pillows, all my toys, the lap that soothed, the voice that spoke my name, the hand that stroked my face, and all my joys. To hopeless death row dogs, I'd give your love for me, my place within your heart. Above all else, I'd comfort you. Please never fear to fill that heart again. I pray you'll find another friend. Don't say, I cannot bear more loss. Receive the love I leave behind, and when I die, another dog will live. The only gift that I can ever give.
Thank you, Doug. And I might mention that Doug has been there from the beginning with this contest, and he and I used to give introductory classes in writing a sonnet in Winona back in the day.
Yes, that's right. Jim was the very first poet laureate in Winona. And when we discovered that we had a Shakespeare Festival and a poet laureate in Winona, it seemed only natural that we should have a sonnet contest. And now that work has continued. The sonnet contest has grown, and it has really become a truly beautiful thing.
Thanks for being here. And now we'll go to Richard Meyer from Mankato, Minnesota.
Hello. I first of all would like to thank all of those whose work and talent make this event possible. And I would also like to thank the judges for finding merit in my work. Conflagration on the Notre Dame de Paris Cathedral fire in 2019. The gargoyles grin, engulfed in smoke and flame, and turn their backs on ravaged Notre Dame. A crowd looks on. Some murmur, gasp, or shout. A few kneel down and pray the rosary. The spire flares, then topples like a tree. Rose windows shimmer, glow from inside out. The roof collapses, crashes to the nave. Slim buttresses hold up a limestone grave. For TV news, a prime catastrophe. The fire halts. What can be saved, they'll save and build again on top of what survives. We turn away, resume our little lives upon the scaffold of these numbered days, where things are burning down in other ways. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Well read. A beautiful sonnet. Next, we have Cindy Hill from Middlebury, Vermont.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you. And this poem is called G Pentatonic Main Pine. For those of you who aren't musicians and may not know, pentatonic is a particular musical scale, and it's typically used in Native American flutes like this one. G pentatonic, main pine. The note had always been inside the flute, just as the flute had been inside the tree until the day that two bears cut it free from newly fallen bole, down near the root which, torn from earth, now pointed to the sky. The tree had died a good death, wind, not knife, the most that we can ask for in this life, to have our souls rise on a gentle sigh, while everything inside us is released into the air to flutter like a song, in tunes that had been trapped there all along, buried deeper as our years increased. Sing now, flute, and set the sky alight with joy before the silent winter night.
Thank you, Cindy. And we're going to bring Doug Schultz-Carlson back to read a poem by Michael Watterson from Napa, California.
I like this one too. It's a very theatrical poem. This is called Encore by Michael Watterson. In the theater, it's a tradition to leave a bare bulb burning center stage called a ghost light. There's a superstition that phantom thespians will vent their rage unless they can perform in dead of night. The show folklore prompts several questions. What plays do spooks put on out of our sight? Do they mount such obvious selections as the Scottish play or, say, Blithe Spirit, with meaty roles for an apparition? If the dead applaud, can others hear it? Is the bar 3 deep at intermission? Despite its cast and patrons being gone, the show must, even after death, go on.
Thanks, Doug, and thanks to Michael Watterson. Doug, is that a thing that you know about, that light?
Yes, absolutely. That is true. There's usually a pole. It's got a light bulb on the top. That is in almost every theater I've ever seen. It's there partly to prevent you falling off the edge of the stage if you come in the middle of the dark. But yeah, most theaters have that and leave it burning all the time.
I like the ghost story.
Yeah.
Thank you. Emilio de Grazia is going to read a poem by Philip Goldfarb Sturt from Davenport, Iowa.
Last year, I selected as one of my laureate choices a complex poem. This one is direct and clear, and I think it speaks to what's familiar to all of us. Reading matter. I read a lot of books that make me cry, that rend my heart and penetrate my soul, that take my treasure, my measure, and then wring me dry, pushing the buttons of my self-control. I read a lot of books that make me mad, that show me such injustice that I rage, that curse the good and elevate the bad within the confines of a single page. I read a lot of books that make me smile, that hit the sweet spot of my inner child, that tame the beast within me or beguile whatever part of me is running wild. But what I've never read that I recall are books that did not make me feel at all.
Thanks, Emilio, and thanks, Philip. Philip, you should know that Amelia reads a lot of books. Marty Steyer from Seattle, Washington has a poem for us.
Hello. Thank you for the opportunity to participate in this great festival. My sonnet has to do with Donald Justice, who is one of my favorite American poets. It is entitled Anchored. Anchored. And still the waves came back at him, always with the same low chucklings or grand indifferent sighs. Donald Justice, Last Days of Prospero. When, in my freshman English class, I first read your poems, I marveled as I do now at their depth and lucidity. Immersed in your words, which flooded over my brow, I was at once spellbound and spurred on. How could I not write? My mother of pearl lines, thin to let through the light, and then somehow sharpened to points like a sea urchin's spines. As my own middle age steeply declines to dark, I've unwittingly contracted the disease that crimped you. From the confines of Parkinson's irons, a protracted living death. Is that you, dear ghost, dear stiff, chuckling, sighing, sounding out one more riff? Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. Well read. Beautiful poem. Marilyn Taylor from Madison, Wisconsin. Are you there, Marilyn Taylor?
There I am. Sorry.
There you are.
I haven't done too well technically this time. I'm aware of that. I have been enjoying this so much. It's been wonderful. It's been giving me ideas for poems, which is sort of precisely what I hope to get from this in a way, because the poem that I'm going to read, the sonnet, is about not getting those ideas, and it's called Block That Trope. They used to flow so easily, the poems, the syllables like seed pearls, slipping down a strand of disconnected chromosomes for some unwritten sonnet. Every noun would quickly find the quintessential verb to lean against. Quatrains would ebb and flow, and nothing whatsoever would disturb the equilibrium. Off they'd go into that lyric wild blue yonder, picking up some adjectives as needed, working hard in tandem toward the wonder of it all, sublimely unimpeded. But nowadays, like pigeons on the wing, disorder comes and wrecks the whole damn thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. And now Doug Schultz Carlson is going to read Ernest Hilbert's poem from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
I have to say, I really liked that poem. I think you have the right audience for this. I'm sure we've all experienced that trying to write. Yes, I have. This is called Appeal by Ernest Hilbert. They lead me to the dock. The courtroom's packed. They really love me. Who draws crowds like this? I love it when they look, and you're here too. They think you know me after all these years, but you don't know a thing. I'm the black hole at the center of our galaxy. Stars eddy and disappear as if into a drain. I'm your very own event horizon. Nothing you ever understood makes sense again. All rise. It's so familiar now. The judge looks bored. They always do, I know. And you look tired. I've got you. You can't stop thinking of me. And when the time arrives to make my plea, you know what it will be.
Thank you, Doug. And thank you, Ernest Hilbert. And now Barbara Lydecker Crane from Somerville, Massachusetts.
There we go. Just waiting for my video to come up. I've clicked it, but nothing is coming up.
We can see you, Barbara.
We can see you.
Oh, okay. All right, great. And I'm going to hold up this. I'll explain it in a second. I have an ekphrastic sonnet to read, which is written as if in the voice of an artist. And in this case, it's contemporary Australian artist Julie Dowling, who has painted this portrait called Self-Portrait, Blackbird. And my poem is called Blackbird. My clan's creature, the wedge-tailed eagle, black, outspreads imperfect wings across my chest. I paint its silhouette to bring me back clear through what I have written on my dress, First Nation names. The eagle carries me into the bush and to my proud, deep roots, the Badamaya Nation. My enmity flares up at white police who persecute our groups. Their agents used to steal the light-skinned kids from First Nation families and place them in church missions or with whites. With a pair of fair-skinned daughters men could seize, my mother kept us on the run. I flew. My paintings bring my people into view.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you so much. And just up the road from Somerville is Plymouth, Massachusetts, and Jean L. Creeling.
Hi, can everyone see me? I guess so. My poem is also ekphrastic. It was inspired by this painting by Michel Lehmann. The title of the painting is Waiting, and that is also the title of my poem. Waiting, after the painting by Michel Lehmann. The morning ferry's due at 10 o'clock. She watches for it, or for all we know, looks only to the far end of the dock and thinks of running, then a dive below that placid pale blue surface. It's too cold for such dramatics. Even her long coat can't keep her warm. Her packed suitcase is bold enough. Her thick fur collar chafes her throat. Her own stiff pose of patience makes her itch for drastic action, some quick liberation. She's had enough of him. She can't say which is worse, his lying or his expectation that she'll forgive again, come home, unpack. She waits. She'll board that boat. She won't be back. Thank you.
Thank you. Well read. And next is Barbara Brennan from Spur, Texas.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Barbara Brennan of Spur, Texas, and I'm honored to read from 14 about a Texas rancher who starts a long winter work day before dawn. A little hard to imagine here on the last day of July in Texas, but let's think back to midwinter. You may wonder why this sonnet begins rather than ends with a couplet, and that end rhymes may not always quite match up. It's because this is the first half of a mirrored sonnet, which is divided at the noon hour and concludes in the second part with these lines. Back home, he parks the truck, refreshes hay. There could be poorer ways to spend a day. You'll find both parts on my website later today at barbarabrannan.com. So with that, let's go back to the start. 14. 14 degrees. He grumbles out of bed. There's ice to break. There's livestock to be fed. He zips his Carhartts, cranks the Chevrolet, heads out to pasture, thermos under arm. A golden eagle rises in the east across the breaks and lights the pickup's way. Against the hues of dawn, arriving geese glide in to harvest what remains to farm each season when the strippers leave the rack to sandhill cranes their sere midwinter feast. He tallies cattle, checks the pasture back behind the ridge. It's there he stops a while, gets out his hat and gloves, and walks with last night's ham and biscuit in a sack. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Barbara. And it was great to hear it in a Texas accent. That poem needs it. It's such a great poem. James Tweedy from Long Beach, Washington.
Hello, everybody. I'm glad to be here, and I'm reading my poem, which is titled Pneuma. And you may or may not be aware that that's a Greek word that is usually translated wind or spirit or breath, as in pneumonia or pneumatic hammer. But it's this poem actually speaks to all of those different meanings of the word pneuma. The frigid morning air stands still as death, unmoving, yet alive, as like a beast in winter sleep, whose each inspired breath in rest reposes ere it is released. The air is clear, as if it wasn't there, suspended as if frozen in its place, as silent as a whispered, unheard prayer. As close as skin, as infinite as space, invisible, yet tangible as stone. Its presence satisfies and fills the lungs with life, while animating flesh and bone and voicing words in multitudes of tongues. In air, we live and move and have our being. Like wind and spirit, hidden from our seeing.
Thank you. Excellent. And now Ken Mogren of Winona, Minnesota, who has won a few times in this contest, is going to be read by Melissa Maxwell.
Man in Pink. A quirky man would always dress in pink. Pink shirts, pink pants, pink socks, and underwear. When he got dressed, he never had to think, 'cause pink stuff was the only clothing there. His wardrobe led to rumors and some jokes, a kinky fetish, some strange fantasy. But such were faulty theories by those folks, for things were not what they appeared to be. His color preference always had been white, but when he got divorced and lived alone, the laundry chores he sought to expedite were bungled thanks to things he'd never known. He didn't know that fabric colors bled, and all his towels just happened to be red.
Thank you, Melissa, and thank you, Ken. And next, Doug is going to read a poem by Mel Goldberg of Laredo, Texas.
We just had dinner with Ken the other night, and he promised that he had a funny sonnet for us. That's that's very good. I like that. This is Son and Father by Mel Goldberg. He smiles when I tell him that I'm his son, and though it comes as a complete surprise, I tell him that I am the only one who visits daily. I see in his eyes no recognition. Then anxiety lifts like morning mists on a summer's day. When he asks, "Where's your brother?" and hugs me, I struggle with the words, but softly say, "He's still in prison, thinking no one cares." The fog returns again. I know that we live through this scene each day. Although it tears my heart, there's just this bleak future I see. Today, clouds parted briefly and brought joy for this father and 60-year-old boy.
Thanks, Doug, and thanks, Mel, for that sonnet. Our next sonnet is another youth sonnet by Brendan Downs of Chattanooga, Tennessee, read by Hannah Young.
This poem's called Hot Concrete, Water Fills the Jagged Holes. Hot concrete, water fills the jagged holes. Steam vanishes over a setting sun. Mechanics still working, black tires still roll. Summer's over. Sorry, boys, ain't no fun. The herd's thinning out, so don't pick up the phone. It's getting cold here, at least. It don't get cold here, at least not no more. Them lost kids, they shouldn't be out there alone. Watch the club games, fell asleep around 4. Start the car, Dylan's on the radio singing times a changin'. That can't be true. Every year, the same seasons, still the same show. Got a new lawnmower, that's something new. Honey, get the wood. Let's have one last fire. I say, I won't miss summer. I'm a liar.
Thank you, Hannah, and thank you, Brendan Downs. Next, a poem by Methany Mutsi of Clearwater, Florida, read by Leslie Schultz.
Deep, excuse me, deep waters. As long as they are healthy, either one would be just fine with us, declares my friend, who, 2 girls in, is dying for a son, but feels the silent pressure to pretend. I see her smile contract and know that she has suddenly perceived that this cliche must grip me, special needs mom, painfully. Her forehead furrows into tense dismay. What force throbs mother limbs soon after birth and yields detached placentas with no spines? Our spongy bodies soak up drops of worth in shallow pools each social sphere defines. No worries, friend, I say, but there remains between our smiles a gulf of labor pains.
Thank you, Leslie, and thank you, Bethany, for that beautiful sonnet. Our next poet is Elizabeth Tornes from Lac du Flambeau, Wisconsin, and it will be read by Melissa Maxwell.
Bear River Powwow Grounds. In summertime, you can hear the river reeds hissing like snakes in the slanted rays of the sun. Observe the duck with eyes of onyx beads skirt the shoreline when the day is nearly done. I walk down the bank where flowing waters rest and sit and hear a singing in my ear. An errant mosquito has found a downy nest, a spirit come to roost in my tousled hair. Evening arrives, and stars begin to slide down the horizon. Night chills the piney air. On the shore where playful otters swim and glide, I pray in this peaceful hidden lair. Solitude, my oldest, dearest friend, stay with me now until the end.
Thank you, Melissa, and thank you, Elizabeth, for writing that poem. Sadie Wilkie from Ocala, Florida. Sadie, did I say your name correctly?
Yes, thank you. This is my sonnet, and it's titled, Am I Enough in and of Myself? Each night I gaze upon the brilliant blue and question it why my mind is aching. Assure me other youth too are breaking. Oh, dark night, why can't I be perfect too? I fake a simple smile to make it through, but always wonder who else is shaking. I ask the sky what air I'm making. It breathes back with a voice as pure as dew. Love, you are far more precious than the night. External beauty won't heal what you feel. Despite your heartbreak, you aren't a mistake. Your father chose you to be his bright light. The thieving of your joy which conquers the night lake. Thank you.
Thank you, Sadie. Thanks for being here. And finally, we have Linda LaRocca from Salida, Colorado, who is going to close this reading down with a benediction.
Thank you. And I just want to say thanks to all the poets today for their wonderful work, and thank you to the contest judges and the organizers. And my sonnet is titled Benediction. There still is much to praise in this sad world. The round gold moon that glows above the lakes, the orange butterfly, its wings unfurled, pink sunstreaks in the east when morning breaks, the ocean wave that foams across the sand, the speckled trout that leaps up from the stream, the rosy finch that nestles in the hand, nights stippled with white stars that wink and gleam, a single soul that stands up for what's right or offers a hot meal, a place to rest, dispels the darkness to let in the light, reshapes the broken into something blessed. What each one seeks is what each one will find. Therefore, choose beauty, purpose, hope. Be kind. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a great way for us to finish up. And now I would like everyone to turn on your cameras and your mics and give yourselves a big hand. Since we don't have an audience, you have to be your own audience. So good for you.
There.
Thank you so much. I hope that you will submit next year. We're always glad to have these sonnets coming in. Heidi, how many sonnets did we have this year? 604 sonnets. And you represent the creme de la creme, so good job. But everybody, every sonnet, as we said, we read, and they are read anonymously by these 4 judges. And I think we can say that it is a pleasure to see the sonnet alive and well. Such a range, wouldn't you say? Such a range of sonnets, really covering so many different topics, so many different approaches. And I would like us all to give a hand to Hannah and Melissa and Doug for reading. And again, it's time to start thinking about your next entry. So get writing. And finally, 2 things. First of all, if you love these sonnets, we do have 2 anthologies you can purchase online from our website. Oh yes, and the winning sonnets will all be posted immediately, so you can read each other's sonnets if you didn't quite get a chance to grasp them. And this actual ceremony will be also uploaded onto the website in a couple of days. And I would like to close by reading a sonnet from Ted Holland, our benefactor. We know he's watching, so hi, Ted. And this is a sonnet that I think really expresses the spirit of his gift here. It's called Leaf Omen. A single citron-colored leaf lies lone upon the path which we so often walked, and not just rambled, but with hand in hand, shared plans, while unknown death beside us stalked. This yellowed leaf announcing summer's fate might seem an evil sign of what's to come, although, if truth be told, it's 1 year late in marking and proclaiming her life's sum. Gold leaf, with all your regal imagery, lie undisturbed just where you lately fell. Saffron sign of soon barren days, I dimly hear the tolling of a bell. I want so much to stay here on this earth, conveying widely knowledge of her worth. And I think that's a wonderful way of saying this is all in honor of Maria Faust and Ted. And thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And we'll see you next year.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Great stuff.